Ray here, not that one. Here we are again. This is Thursday evening, and it doesn't feel like I've done much so far this week, but I have. I've been playing with these are all the ribs. I've sanded those down about another 3 times, and I've then treated myself to a thickness of planer. So I've run them all through there. I didn't arrive till yesterday, so I ran those all through last night, and they're all now exactly 6.3mm, which is perfect, because by the time I've just faired the outside down, they'll give me about the 6mm I was looking for. So these have been in this, can you just see them? I think you can. All the timber's been in this water tub inside these bags, and I've been soaking all this since last night. Turned it up, inverted it this morning, and again just a little while ago, and I've now got the first 6 ribs being steamed as we speak. So that's where we're at. If I take you off here, just show you a couple of little bits and bobs. So I'm going to start from, so this is marked, so this is station 1, and I've marked here where the first rib is going to be, and then the bend the gap, and then the next rib, and obviously I'll put the same marks all here, because from there to there they'll be straight, and then from here is where because the size of the canoe is curved, so obviously when you bring it round, it's naturally going to want to lean across, which is why they've got the angle cut on them, which I did show you the other night. So yeah, so that's where we're at, and I haven't done too much else. I mean, it's mainly been sanding, sorting. Oh, I prepared the middle one as well, because that's got a slightly different, instead of having one angle on that, I've put a pair of angles on it, because it's in the middle, it's going to be virtually straight, and I want that to be even. So I've done that, I've got all the clamps ready. Yeah, just been preparing things really, but I'm now about to start fitting, hopefully, the first rib. We'll see how that goes. I've got this big piece of timber here, so I should release this end, and then lift it up, put the first rib in, clamp it down. I've marked all the centres of the ribs, and enough spacing so I can see them either side of that rail, and yeah, so that should enable me to get them on. So the plan is I'm going to take one out once I get going and replace it with another one, so I can keep the system going. And there's 12 long ones, well 13 actually, one for the middle and 6 either side, so I want to try and get all this on tonight if possible. And I think, like most of these things, once you actually start, the first 1 or 2 will be the hardest, and usually once you've sort of sussed out how that's going to work, then the rest should go on okay. I'm not going to nail them, they will be nailed to this, but I'm not going to nail them just yet. I'm literally just going to clamp them all first, stretch them down, and then see how that all sort of works out before I start nailing anything at all. So I just want to make sure that when you line up through these, that the actual rib has got the fair curve the same as this, and not gone too high or too low. So that's something else I need to look out for. So I shall do a little time lapse of me doing this, would be the best thing. Otherwise it'll be a very long video indeed. Right, okay, 13 ribs fitted. You can now see what I mean, because the canoe is tapered. Obviously these ribs angle this way, so by having that edge cut off, it actually chews them up, so they actually they all look quite good. Now, I haven't been super super confident about nailing these yet. I'm going to want to do a bit more work on the top, because now they're in that shape I should be able to just manipulate these a little bit, even if I have to put a damp cloth on and use an iron, and they will move. Once I've nailed them on, that is set and said, I want to make sure I'm doing the right things. So at the moment they're tie wrapped on, that's holding everything. I want to make sure all the gaps are even, as you'd expect, but that has not gone too badly. This side particularly. Now the other side, whether that's just because this is the second side to be done, I've lost one rib there. You can see that's cracked. That's going to have to be replaced. This one's got a very, very tiny little split. I think I might get away with that one. And then there's these two, again, quite wide. They've gone there, and I have it on the other side. I don't know. Jury's out on those. I mean, at this stage I can very easily just, I mean, every one of these ribs is obviously completely bespoke to its position, but I can easily make, I've got some spares, I can easily make some more, and it'd be better to have these perfect how I see it. But we'll leave it all now, because you never know, some of these ones might split as yet. But yeah, I can't help but being quite pleased with that. Clearly never done this before, so everything's a learning curve, but it's looking pretty reasonable. I can see this one's a bit humpy, but like I said, you know, this will pull down, and they'll all move. Even if I leave it until I get the first sort of planks fitted, and I can probably nail 2 planks on, and then still come down here and mess around with this how I see it. Where we might have some half ribs is in between these. This is what some people do, and I might be tempted, because that's station 1, so that's where the centre thwart will be. This is the area where I'll be kneeling, so I may just stick 3 or 4 in just in the area where I'm going to be spending all my time, but jury's still out on that. So yeah, there we are. Well, hopefully we can get back enough and get a reasonable view of that. Yeah, look at that, beautiful. Yeah. Good morning, Ray here. Well, we're back again, another Saturday. Boy, these Saturdays are flying past, aren't they? One week just blends into another. Oh, where are you? Oh, you're around there. Sorry, I didn't see you. Right, well, as you can see, I've got a few more ribs on. I think I last did a video on Thursday night, so Friday night I put the remaining ones on at the front here, both ends, so they're all round now. They need, the first ones I wasn't very expectant of these anyway, but you can see that's torn, so I'm going to cut these now and just use these as the cant ribs, so there'll be 4 cant ribs at each end. But the rest have gone round quite well. They need a bit of a tweak in places, but generally I'm very pleased with the way these have gone. So that's where we are at the moment. Now, I have been quite busy this morning, not just standing around drinking coffee. And over here you can now see there's about 23 cedar planks now. So these are the planks. So these are only, at the moment, these are about 5mm, and they will soon, on my next things, I'm going to plane all these down to about 4mm. So these will be the outer planks. And I've also just ripped down another couple of bits of ash. I've got a few bits left there, but I just thought I'll just do another couple of bits just so I've got a spare, because I've still got to replace one broken one, which I have already cut and planed. That just needs the round of a bit running through on the right of the table. I think at some point during the day, I'm going to finally nail all these on in position, pull them all down tight, nail them on, get rid of the tie wraps and just trim the excess off here. So that's my plan. So you can see here, that one there, look, that's just, it's probably not beyond saving, but that's might as well be. You see, that's the one I've got to change. That's really ripped out. It's quite, I mean, the book I was reading, they said they always expect to lose 4 or 5. So, you know, I've lost 2. There's 2 others that are questionable. Still jury's out on at the moment, but I don't think that's too bad actually. But then I guess ash is a tougher wood than some of the stuff they're using. So, yeah. So that's that. I will have another chat with you a bit later on. But in the meantime, I need to finish. I've got the coffee on the go. It's because every time I get the video camera, I have to go indoors. And if I go indoors, I might as well stick the kettle on and bring a coffee out. So that's my excuse. And I'm sticking to it. Right, hi, I'm back again. Well, it's just gone 6 o'clock on Saturday evening, and I've pretty much done what I said I was going to do. So these are all nailed now. Some are double, some are just single nailed, and I've nailed onto the stems. I've stretched all the ribs round best I can. There's just 1 or 2 just needs a little bit more attention, and there's 2, this one here and that one. That one was really bad in the shape, and that one had a huge crack in it, so I'm just getting those ready. They need steaming and putting on. Other than that, I think I'm pretty much where I said I was going to be, and don't want to keep repeating myself. And I've just laid 2 pieces of the cedar on here, so that'll be the middle 2, the garboard planks. So now I'll just, obviously these all got to be planed down, make sure they meet, and then they will be nailed onto all the ribs now. And that's the start of it. This will come round and twist round on this end. Difficult to see, but it'll twist round on the end, something like that. Shove that one out of the way. So that's going to twist round something in that order. You can see that twist quite easy. I will have to wet this. This will have to be wetted and with hot water, and even possibly an iron, just to make that yield to hammer onto it. And yeah, the ribs were quite hard. I had to seriously try and stretch those and manipulate them into position. And sometimes they just want to sit in a certain place, so you can't always get these all even. They're within a, they're all within a little, but sometimes you just have to let the rib sit where it wants to sit. Right, so what we're doing now is I have all the ribs on now. So I've replaced the 2 cracked ones. I've nailed all the others, so everything's secure now. And what I'm doing now is there's 1 or 2 little ribs here which I just want to try and influence the shape of a bit. Just some that just a little bit on the misshapen side. So I'm just trying to steam those and just get those into a better position. Yes, they actually look a bit better actually. I think that's probably this one here. We just had a bit of a flat just there. So I've already given that a go. I must well give that a touch more, I think. So it's worth just spending a little bit of time trying to make these the best we can. I've cut all the cant ribs for the front and back. They're all cut and shaped, all rounded off. They're all ready to go. What I've also done here, I did mention this, but I've now cut some more down. So I've cut these. So I've cut 4. These are half ribs. These are 45mm, and what my plan is, that's where the centre fork will be. So this is where I'll be sitting. So I'm going to fit 1, 2, 3, 4, just in that area where I'm going to be standing and kneeling the most, just to give that a little bit more support. So they're ripped down to size. They are curved on the bottom. All we need to do is I just need to cut them to length and just put some detail on the ends, and then they're ready to go. Yes, now I've got the very tedious job of fairing all the ribs. So because these are all different widths, and some are obviously slightly maybe twisted more, or the way they sit on the guide, you have to try and get this all smooth so that when the outer planks go on, they are as smooth as possible. I think I've got on quite well. It's been pretty wet today, which today is Sunday, if you haven't already guessed. Yeah, we've had a couple of heavy showers, so everything's a bit wet out there. But luckily, the tarp is keeping the weather off, so that's quite a good thing. Yeah, and I think I'm going to be doing this for pretty much the rest of the day. So it's now about 2:30. The other job I've got to do is I've got to rig up some timber here to clamp the planks, the cedar planks to, just so I can plane the edges really nice and straight, and probably may need a slight bevel on them as well, so that all picks up and joins up nicely together. So that's, if I get any spare time or I just get completely bored of sanding, then that's what I'll do. I'll do a bit of prep for that. So yeah, okie dokie. Well, that's the last little update, so I'll speak to you later on. It's almost 6 o'clock, and as you can see, it's a bit damp. And unfortunately, the canoe is a little bit too far that way. I might have to bump it over a bit because I want to work on this side and I'm getting wet. Anyway, anybody who tells you that sanding is fun is lying to you, because after half an hour it's incredibly tedious. After 3 hours you're ready to hang yourself. So that is not fun. There's just yeah, it is a tough job, but a necessary one. This side is very nearly there. It is very nearly there. Can I get under here? Yeah, it's very close. I'm just gonna. It's 6 o'clock, so it's quite late. Been out all day again, so I'm gonna go indoors and see if I can't just knock up some tea right quick, and this should stop in a bit, so I can come out and do a bit more. Bit of thunder and lightning now. It's nice. Yeah, lovely. This is about the third heavy rain we've had today, so after our very hot dry spell we're now topping it, so it's what it is. But yeah, I'm going to move this canoe over a bit and I'll have a bit more room, so see you later. Hello, today is Thursday the 10th of July. Can't believe how the days and months are flying by. Crazy. Where I was last time we had a chat, but it was earlier in the week, and I was sanding ribs, and yeah, I was sanding ribs. I think it might have been Sunday. It feels like it's been a slow week. I have had a couple of other things I've had to do. Tuesday I was out, so I didn't get anything done Tuesday night. But the rest of the time I've just literally just been refining these ribs, sanding them, tweaking them, adjusting the position slightly. It has been a bit. It has been a bit of a task, actually. I've sort of been wetting some and steaming them with the iron just to try and tempt them into a better shape. And it's really getting there now. I've just clamped on loosely now planks. So, I mean, this is the cedar that I'm going to clad it with. And I've got various planks on here just so I can see how the shape is flowing. And it's getting somewhere pretty close. So the last thing I'm going to do in a bit is I'm going to set my laser up, my laser level, and I'm just going to confirm that this is all lined up nicely in a straight line from stem to stem. And then I should put a few marks across, because I am on this side anyway. I'm ready to start planking, and I'm going to do some on this side, probably 3, maybe 4 planks on this side. Then I'm good at that side. I have been looking at this side, and it is in reasonable condition because I have been adjusting some of these. There's still some sanding to be done, but I'm thinking, hoping I'm going to have a pretty good time Saturday and Sunday, and we'll get some of this done then. So I'm just going to show you some of the close-up bits. Right, this is really for if anyone is considering following along and or looking at this to make a canoe similar to this. Because what I found is I've been scouring the internet. I've looked at quite a lot of videos, and there's a few accounts online as well where people have described their process with a few pictures. But what I found with most of these things is if there's a description there, which is great, and a few pictures, but the very bits that you really want to dial into aren't there. And I've noticed, this is a trend, I've noticed quite a lot of these videos seem to be skimping on some details. which is a little frustrating. So I'm gonna try and, you know, give as much help with what I've found to help anyone else. So the first thing is I put these 3 rails on this side. If I was doing it again, I would put one in this position here. I thought these would just flow around, and because they're bending, they would naturally take on the right shape, and they have. But I've had to readjust quite a few of these, and I think if we had another strip of this timber through here, that would have helped. So that's tip number 1. The other thing I've found is when you're sanding, these ribs do tend to move quite a lot, so I've made little tiny brackets and just screwed on, just to help locate them. I've had quite a few more on now which I've removed, but it does help locate things. Now the other thing I did is, if you recall, all of these ribs were taken down to just over 6mm, exception of the middle one. The middle one I left at 8mm, because I knew that this is where it's going to have to be sanded on the curve, because you can see how, if I can get a picture, you can see how that curves round. So I've had to thin the sides down quite a lot, so I left that one thicker just for that reason, which did mean that in the middle flat section I had to plane that down to the same thickness as the others to make that come right. So that's another little thing. Other than that, I think we're there. I fitted this one last night, and I'm not doing, I've put the notches in here ready, but this is the way I'm going to finish it for now, and these 2 will go in after the planking's done and the canoe is turned round, you know, the right way up. So yeah, and that's typical, because you have to undo all this lot to get it off the mould, obviously. So if you did all of this, you wouldn't you wouldn't get it off the mould. So these are all fairing around quite nicely, actually. And lower down, it's really easy lower down, because it's just flowing around nicely. So these planks will have to be wetted and heated to conform round, and then there'll be 3 nails on each rib, which will secure these in position, which I will be able to show you that next time. So I think that is everything I wanted to say. So I'm going to get this video edited tonight, so I can put this out tomorrow, so it's not, you know, too big a jump forward in what I've done. So I hope that's self-explanatory and it's going to help anybody. Do another one end of next week, where hopefully we'll be looking at something approaching a canoe planked in. Nice.